Welcome to Reality Tea Times 2, the podcast where we discuss all the trash reality TV we love to hate. I am Tanika, and today we are going to be finishing up Owning Manhattan. So, at least the first part of this is going to sound a little weird, just recording this in the car. So if you don't hear any car stuff and you're just listening to me. So, as a reminder, we're going to be doing episodes 5 to 8, finishing this up. So, let's start with episode 5. So, Tricia Lee, now that's the wife in the duo that I didn't remember her name, but yeah, she wants to talk to Ryan. She does, about wanting to get into the Manhattan market. And he's like, you know what? I have an idea. How about we do a development for you in Brooklyn, but at least with a development in Brooklyn, she can kind of get her toes into that so that she can maybe deal with the developments in Manhattan. So she's going to have to she's not going to just get it. She's going to be doing a pitch to the developer. And she does it and she gets it. So good for her. Jordan H., he gets a text with a video. Now, if we remember, we talked about the podcast that was done between Jessica and Jonathan in the previous episode. Well, that is the video that Jordan got, was a clip from that podcast. So more on that later. Chloe is throwing a party, and while she's doing that, Jordan calls her and tells her, so there's a podcast where Sirhan agents are talking shit on other Sirhan agents. Then she gets it. She does watch it, not all the way through, but she does watch it. And Chloe ends up telling Savannah, because obviously the gist of the shit talking was directed at Savannah. And she is watching the video. And Chloe's like, they should just not be at the company. Because if you're going to talk shit about the other agents in the company, then you shouldn't be in the company. I tend to agree. But more on that later. We're done with episode 5. There wasn't a whole lot to discuss on the episode. I do recall, I think I might have fallen asleep during this episode too at the end. I believe that someone got kicked out of Chloe's party. I think it was Jordan. No, it was Jade. Jade got kicked out of her party. And I'm like, wow, that's petty. Anyway, episode 6. So, Ryan then finds out about the podcast and what was said about not only the other agents, but in particular Savannah. And Ryan comes for Jonathan. Like, I mean, capital COMES, comes for Jonathan about the podcast. And he's like, you use the podcast studio. So he's using company resources to talk about other agents. He's like, either hold yourself at a high level at this company or start your own. And you can do with it as you wish. Or he's like, or go to another brokerage who maybe doesn't care that you're talking shit on other agents. He's like, take that podcast down. He's like, I already did what I needed to do on my end with it and apologize to Savannah. And he's like, and if you don't, whatever career you have, you'll have it, just not at my company. I loved it. So Jessica then talks to Ryan because obviously it's gotten out to her that things were said. And she apologizes to Ryan for her part in it. He does kind of see, okay, I can tell Jonathan is the aggressor in all of this, so I'm not holding that against you. He's like, or she says, I didn't want it to go that far. I should have stopped the conversation instead of egging it on. So at least she recognizes her part. Anyway.
Okay, so I'm completing the rest of this episode normally, so you shouldn't hear any different than you normally do. Not doing it in the car. So, okay, so we're powwowing about the Central Park listing, kind of figuring out where everybody stands with getting people to look at the listing, and we only have a month left on the contract before, well, they lose the contract. And Jess T, who we kind of see throughout, has someone that she's definitely showed it to, but no one else really has anything to really contribute. No one has shown it. No one has a buyer in mind. Nobody. Jane and Savannah are meeting up and talking about the podcast. Jonathan, they kind of agree here, which I think we can all agree here, is being a bully. Then we talk about the drama with Chloe. And Jay tells her kind of what happened with them. And she's like, she's kind of all about herself and blah, 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 which of course we can, I think, agree to. And then she's like, plus she wears Zara. Like, what's wrong with Zara? Funny enough, I believe there is a Zara location. I can't remember exactly where it is in my area that's currently closing. And I'm like, oh, okay. Anyway, we're at a new development. Ryan said that with this development, when he got it, the development's not done yet, by the way. He said to them that he'd be able to sell $100 million of profits before the building was even being done developing. And I'm like, really? And I think even some people are like, for why would you ever say something like that? And all I came back with is renderings. Let's get the renderings done, show that off, because we kind of see him at one point showing this development to a potential buyer, and they're like, it's kind of hard for me because I can't actually picture it. So more on that later. Jonathan approaches Savannah. Now, if we remember, he was told by Ryan in the beginning of the last episode that he needed to apologize to Savannah or you can get the fuck out of my company. Okay? So he goes to her and he's like, hey, Savannah, I apologize. And she's like, okay, so like, what did you learn from everything? Good for you, Savannah. And he's like, well, I mean, learn? Can you use that in a sentence? Where does that word derive from? Is it a verb? He doesn't understand. And she's like, well, I guess not, just based on how you're acting. And because clearly, you actually don't give a shit for what you did. And he's like, listen, Savannah, let me level with you. I'm really only apologizing because Daddy Brian told me to. And he's still doubling down on his bullshit. And he just gets up to leave and she says, get out of my face. Which I'm like, okay, but he already is getting out of your face, but okay, I'll give you that. Anyway, more on that again later. Ryan meets with the owner of Central Park Tower. And he's like, hey, buddy, so I know you gave me a 6-month contract to get this done, but can't get it done. $250 million unit is not something you can just sell to anybody, right? I'm going to need a little extension. Just a little extension. And the owner is like, Ryan, I believed in you. I believed you could have gotten this done and you haven't gotten it done. He's like, there's nothing wrong with this product except for the 100 stairs. There's nothing else wrong. So it has to be you. Damn. And he basically says, listen, I just need an extra 2 months to get it done. I'll get her done. And he says, well, listen, no promises, because here's the thing, I gave you 6. Now you're asking me for 2 more months to get it done. And he's like, No promises. I really would start thinking that this isn't just not for you. And I said, damn. Anyway, that's it for episode 6. So, episode 7. So, Maggie Wu left. Now, Maggie Wu is, well, she was one of the 5 to sell Central Park, first of all. And, yeah, she's been original to Sirhan. Like, she's an OG. Yeah. And she took her whole ass team with her. And then it went public. So Ryan is an elbow bitch. He's like, he's not well. Tricia ends up actually meeting with Maggie, I guess, to get the tea. And Maggie basically says that she just didn't want to be seen as like a favorite to Ryan. She doesn't want people to think that she was being coddled by Ryan. But at the same time, Tricia's like, who gives a fuck what people have to say? But she admits, if the opportunity presented itself, I would leave for something better. But she says she's happy where she's at, so she doesn't have any. She doesn't have anything kind of guiding her outside of Sirhan. Anyway, Tricia was able to get most of all of that tower that she got, that development in Brooklyn, sold. So guess what? She's getting another one, y'all. That one might just happen to be in Manhattan. Ooh. Then Ryan meets with okay, I gotta go back a little bit. There was a showing that happened between Jonathan and another Sirhan agent, one we haven't really seen much of. And this showing, to kind of break it down, was supposed to be including the buyers. The buyer was supposed to be there. And she says, we kind of want to see the buyer because they kind of want to kind of screen the buyer to make sure they actually have the money for this unit. And Jonathan comes with no buyer, says, I've got it. I'll take pictures and videos. Never took a single one. He goes outside to the balcony off of the bedroom where there's a hot tub, jacuzzi, whichever term you want to use. And he's like, oh, that's a cheap ass hot tub. They probably have things that cost way more than that hot tub. What's wrong with the hot tub? The hot tub is perfectly fine. And then he also gets they had like a viewfinder sitting on the night table that kind of showed the outside of the building in the neighborhood. And my guy is just clicking down on that viewfinder. There's no way you're actually like really looking at the pictures. You kidding? I had one of those viewfinders as a kid, and you click that thing and you just, ooh, ah. And this guy's just like, okay, next, 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 next. Like he's just going. And he's, the whole scene here with the viewfinder must have been going on for a good 2 minutes of him just click, click, click in this viewfinder. And she basically says to him, okay, that's enough. Put the thing down. Let's move on. So I knew after watching that she's going to go back to Ryan and be like, what the fuck is with this guy? And that's exactly what happens. She talks to Ryan and she's like, so number one, the bar didn't come, which Ryan's like, okay, that sucks, but like, you can work around that, right? So, okay, but he said he's going to take a video or photos. Didn't take a single thing. He was acting very odd. I felt like there was no buyer, actually. I feel like he was just wasting my time. Because he also said that at one point, and again, I missed this part, but I'm saying it now. Towards the end, well, technically in the beginning, he said that the buyer, potential buyer, was going to be like this tech guy. And then when he was leaving, he's like, oh, you know what? Maybe the tech guy doesn't quite work out. I have a rapper guy that could probably take this too. So she tells him that. And then he said, oh, this is what he said. The client's watch costs more than this hot tub. That's not impossible. Like, I don't know how expensive he thinks a hot tub should be. Like, I know you can get pretty expensive hot tubs, But that's not actually really hard for a watch to cost more than a hot tub because the watch most likely has a real gold in it or real whatever the fuck in it, you know? That's not impossible for someone's watch to cost more. And what is it with him and watches? Because didn't he say in the moment as well that his watch costs like 5 times more than something? What is with you and watches, my guy? Anyway, Ryan has had it at this point with him. He's just like, I can't anymore. Ryan has a meeting with everybody after this whole thing came up about Jonathan. So he has a meeting with the whole company. He says, y'all, we have 2 problems. Number one, it's in here. The problem is in here. Number two, the other problem, it's out there. But you know what? We can't control one. We can't with the other. And I guess who rolls in late? The problem that was outside. The problem that's out there. Jonathan rolls in. And now both problems are in the room. So, yeah, he just rolls in late and Ryan is pissed. He's like, I call a meeting. I expect everyone to be there on time and actually show up because it shows you give a fuck. So, yeah, that's another thing to be an issue for Jonathan. So, Jess T has created a meeting between Jade and Chloe. Jade does not know about the meeting. Chloe is aware. And when Jade shows up, she's just like, oh no. So, but you know what? It goes well. They pretty much kiss and make up. And everything's great with them now. And I hope, you know what? I hope it stays that way. Because then Chloe says, I have a little surprise. And it's like Jade must have known or something, but she's like, oh my God, are you pregnant? And she's like, I'm pregnant. She's like, but you're drinking. She's like, it's water. So she's pregnant. So I was very happy for her to, anyway, Jonathan, yet again, screwed up another situation. Saying while doing, so there was some sort of, I think, a listing that Ryan asked him to go in and kind of just assess. I think it had to do with the staging, I believe. He's like, basically go in, assess, get out, say nothing more. Well, Jonathan couldn't do that. And Jonathan basically went in there and said, oh, someone can't afford something or whatever the hell, which pissed off the buyers, or I think he said that the buyers couldn't afford this, which pissed off the buyers and they no longer want to do the listing. They went a different direction. Not only that, they no longer want to work with Sirhan. So so obviously it's pissed Ryan off. And let's go into episode 8, the final episode of this. So Ryan meets with Jonathan and he talks about I think it's Kayla. So Kayla is the agent. I think Kayla was the one that saw him before. So they're kind of talking about what Kayla told him about the fall through of the buy. And Jonathan just sits there and gaslights Kayla and Ryan. And makes them look like they're the ones that did something wrong. He's like, I wasn't there. I wasn't there. What are you talking about? I wasn't there. What do you mean? And he's like, you weren't there? Like you weren't there. And he's like, oh, you mean that listing? Okay, yeah, I was there. He's just, what? What is going on? Is he okay? No. Then he says, and then Green Street. Oh, that listing. So he's talking about everything. Green Street is the one that fell through. Kayla is the one where he did the hot tub is more expensive, for less expensive than my client's watch or something. They talk about that. Then he says, oh, Green Street, that's also that too. And he says, that's fallen through. That's now your fault. They kind of talk about the dynamics within the office, and he says, I haven't been bluntly rude to people in the office. The fuck you say? You maybe aren't saying it to their face, but you're saying it behind a microphone and a video, and not actually saying it to their face. So, yeah. You, and then this is a great line. This is a great line. Kudos to Ryan on this one because he says, listen, I think you're going to have a great career. Huge, big. It's just not going to be here. And he fires Jonathan. And I said, I knew Daddy Ryan wasn't going to disappoint me. I knew it. Because I said that, I think in the first episode, episode 1 of the series, of the season. I should say, because let me know season. First episode of the season, in our first episode, and said, I don't like Jonathan, and I think he needs to go, and I hope Ryan delivers. And he delivered. I said, yes, Ryan. Like, I'm very happy. Because no, it's not it. The Jonathan just dips. And of course, as narcissists do, he can't take accountability for anything he does, and he blames Ryan. So, we have a party, and everyone is like, did you hear? Jonathan was fired. Jonathan was fired. Jonathan was fired. It's like, have you heard about Annie? Oh my God. Did you hear? Jonathan got fired. What? Jonathan got fired. What happened? How did Jonathan get fired? Because he's an asshole. No one said that part. But anyways, someone says, thank God. I'm not sure who it was, but someone says, thank God. And Jordan H is like, I want the tea on what happened. So, Daddy Ryan, can you tell us what happened? But he's not going to talk. But then Jessica talks to Ryan and it's like, yesterday was a lot. Hearing about Jonathan being let go, it was a lot. I couldn't sleep over someone else's firing. Maybe I'm just a bitch because I'd be like, oh well. If you're my best friend or close friends with me, then obviously I care. But someone that I just work with occasionally, I'm not gonna care. Sorry. Maybe again that's just me. But she's like, I just couldn't sleep. And anyway, so this party is promoting a commercial building that Jade is working on. Her brightest idea was to kind of showcase this area as being a dance studio, because it also has apartments underneath too. And she does this music video of her dancing, and she's pretty good. And Savannah's like, that's a lot of ass, more than I would do. But Ryan loved it. I think that's all that really matters, is that Ryan loved it. And yeah, if you got it, flaunt it. So I thought she looked great. We got another party celebrating 3 years of the company. Yay. And Chloe rented out Jardim, which is the building that she got over Nile. And she rented it out instead because this person really wanted it. And first it was I'll do 100,000. And Ryan's like, no. And the person's like, no, we're not going to do 100,000, 150. And yeah, so anyways, yeah, they say they're going to do it for 150. And they agree. They're going to do it for 150. There is a chance that could turn into an actual selling it to the person, because they're like, oh, I got this. The person who wants to rent this has the money. They can do this. There's no issue with the money. They got it. Doesn't matter. Name your number. They'll do it. Y'all, the person is Bad Bunny. And I'm like, well, damn. Yeah, I would say he has it. He definitely has it. Then this person, I think their name was Genesis, is apparently very jealous and comes for, don't know who this person is. We barely see her. And she's coming for Chloe. This is at the party, comes for Chloe, and she's like, well, you didn't sell it. It's not really anything because you didn't sell it. And Chloe's like, bitch, who are you? Like, really? Who are you? I didn't see you even rent it. So what's it to you what anyone does? Ugh. Don't like jealous people. Anyways, that's basically the show though, but we're going to do the updates at the end. And then there's going to be also something that happens at the very, very end after we do the updates. So Chloe welcomed a daughter named Carly Kane in the spring. Jade proved everyone wrong and sold 868 Broadway for a record price. She also filed for divorce. Good for her. Get rid of that man. Niall continues to make nonstop cold calls, determined to find the buyer for Central Park and remain a platinum agent. Tricia expanded her business all over NYC and plans to celebrate the sale of her new Manhattan townhouse with a spa day at the Plaza. Jardim has over 60 million in inventory, getting closer to earning the title of King of Tribeca. That's Jordan H, by the way. He recently enjoyed a relaxing trip in Mexico, jail-free, so no peeing on trees. Savannah decided to accept an offer from another brokerage. That's interesting. I mean, it's not surprising, but she did what she had to do, I guess. Then we see Ryan running out of the party because he has got a phone call from somebody, and you're thinking it's Central Park. And it's not Central Park. It's a different listing. And this listing apparently is a big deal. They want him to sell all the units or whatever in this building. And apparently or maybe this is the one apartment, I can't remember. But apparently this particular unit or whatever was used in Succession. He knows. I don't. I never watched Succession. But, so it's kind of a big deal. And of course he wants to get it done, which I guess we'll see in season 2. Because we are going to be getting a season 2. But anyway, that's it for owning Manhattan. Like I said, I really enjoyed this season. The season was really good. And I'm excited for season 2. And we'll see how we do season 2 next year. But that's basically that. So next thing that we will be doing after owning Manhattan, you're going to basically be getting the January bonus episode from Next Take Podcast. You're getting that tomorrow, actually. You're getting it on the 15th. And then we're back. The plan will hopefully be, so that there's no delay, will be that you'll get an episode right after the next day there on the 16th. With new shows, it'll probably be shows that we've missed out on with either Beat 90 or Last Resort. We'll see which that's going to be. But yeah, getting back to normal, getting back to me coming back full time. But yeah, that's basically it. And again, like I hope everyone enjoyed their holiday. Again, thank you for your patience with me through all this. Taking a break. But yeah, we're getting back to normal. But yeah, that is it for this episode. So if you like what you heard, please rate, review the podcast on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, don't forget that you can also share us with everyone in your life if you really love this. And I do want to read those reviews. I'm definitely getting 5-star ratings, but I want to read those reviews. So send me those reviews and I will read those 4 and 5-star reviews on the podcast. Also, we're on every one of your favorite podcast apps. Every one of them, including you can find us on YouTube at Reality Tea Times 2. If you want to connect with us, you can do so by going to either Facebook or Instagram at Reality Tea Times 2. You can also find us on Twitter, TikTok, Reddit at Reality Tea Times 2 Pod. We also have our email, which is at realityteatimes2 at hotmail.com. Definitely want to hear from you guys. And we also have our new website where you can listen to all of these episodes. You can review the podcast on there as well. You can connect with me in any way, all the stuff. It's all there. And you can find me there at www.realityt times two, all spelled out, dot podpage.io. It's there. And don't forget, I also have my other podcast with my friend Mikkel, Next Take Podcast, where we talk about all kinds of different topics. But you can find us on any of your favorite podcast apps over there as well. Or you can also go to YouTube, and you go to Next Take Podcast, as well as our website, which is solo.to/Next Take Podcast. So yeah, there's that, and that's basically that. And again, don't forget, if all of this information is overwhelming, we do have all of the links, everything in our show notes. But that is it for now, guys. Thanks. Bye.